Hannibal Barca's name is remembered with the rumble of war elephants and the clash of empires across the sands of time and among the ruins of old civilizations. Hannibal was Rome's biggest enemy, and military strategists have studied his battles for hundreds of years. But there is still a part of his story that no one knows about, and it has led to debates and conversations that go beyond ancient war. The question of what race he is. Carthage was built by the ambitious Phoenicians during the start of 814 BC. By 650 BC, the city had grown from a small town to a symbol of strength and freedom. Its cultural influence reached across many cultures as it shook North Africa. Inhabitants came from all over Africa and the Mediterranean, making the city more than just a melting pot. It was a symbol of the historical world's wealth and vigor. As a fluid mix of cultures, the Phoenicians were always present in the communities they came across, bringing their spirit to the many countries they came across. Because they were restless nomads and could adapt to different cultures, the glorious history of the Barca family was built on this mix of cultures. In the end, Hannibal led the way, with his ambition and deep historical ancestry shaping his legacy. Before we can talk about Hannibal's legendary adventures, we need to look at how the brave Hannibal Barca started the Barca family into prominence in 230 BC. Although Carthage's leaders did not support his plans in Spain, he kept going because he wanted to be famous and powerful. In addition to being Hannibal's father, Hamilcar was the brain behind the Barca family's rise to power in Spain. Instead of just showing off their military might, the Barca's takeover of Spain was a political and economic coup d'état. While the wealth from Spanish mines filled Carthage's coffers, they also bought Hamilcar an army, gained favor with the Senate, and ensured the Barca's control over the Carthaginian state. After fighting Rome in the First Punic War, Hannibal Barca got his father Hamilcar's deep dislike of the Romans. Rome's reputation for being Hannibal's main enemy is said to have come from a promise that Hannibal made to Rome. This hatred was not just passed down through generations. Hannibal Barca was only 25 years old when he took charge of the Carthaginian army. He and Rome were about to start a war. As Rome's power grew in Spain in 220 BC, Hannibal began a cruel campaign to restore Carthaginian rule in Spain. He destroyed city after city while navigating the country's complicated past. He got rich by investing wisely in supplies and troops, setting the stage for a famous march that would cement his place in history. His battles were more than just military maneuvers, they were lessons in logistics and strategy. Hannibal made his way from Spain to the heart of Italy, crossing the rough terrain of southern France on the way. This is a story of unmatched military skill. Roman generals were always confused by how smart he was at strategy. They were so outclassed that they dodged him like the plague. Hannibal became famous for being brave enough to take on Rome, which at the time was the most powerful military power in the world. But Hannibal is more mysterious than just his war prowess. His African roots and the fact that history doesn't always show people of his race in the same way have sparked a lot of interest in his looks and background, which has led to a bigger conversation about identity and representation. The puzzle of Hannibal's racial and ethnic background shows a bigger problem: telling stories the way they are now versus telling the truth as it was. This interest is sparked by the fact that there aren't many true depictions, and the Romans probably destroyed any proof they found after taking over Carthage. In Western media, Hannibal is shown in a limited way and without enough background information. The pictures of Hannibal that we have are mostly based on art from the Mediterranean, which makes it hard to figure out what his real physical traits were. There are obstacles that are only found in the coins that might hold the most useful information about Hannibal's look. Archaeologists usually don't look at the other 5 coins connected to Hannibal or Carthage because they have features that are usually found in African coins. This selective recognition calls into question the standards that were used to decide how historically accurate and important these artifacts are. The argument over a certain bust from Capua, Italy, shows how hard it is to trust that classical art accurately depicts the past. Some people say that this figure doesn't really show Hannibal, the Carthaginian general, but rather a glorified hero. The people who study icons agree with this, saying that we shouldn't just take these pictures at face value. without also looking at the greater cultural and artistic norms of the time. The same is true for coins. At first glance, they look like they show Hannibal or his family, but when you look more closely, you can see that they really show Punic gods. There is a lot of doubt about the authenticity of the portraits of Hannibal. One view held by the main researchers is that there is no truly authentic portrait of Hannibal. Coins that show people with traditionally African traits but aren't taken seriously by mainstream education also cause a lot of debate. These coins, which are linked to Hannibal's military adventures, call into question the popular ideas about how he looked and where he came from. Some people say that you should take a closer look at these coins, especially the ones that have African themes or symbols on them. Like elephants, near Lake Trasimene, where Hannibal's final victory happened, there is a coin with an Indian elephant on one side and an African figure on the other. Some scholars think that this coin might show Hannibal with Surus, his last elephant, which would be a unique and possibly true representation of him. Still, different people have different ideas about this interpretation, which shows that people are still arguing about how Hannibal is portrayed and how historical events should be judged. So that is all the time we had today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon on your way out. See you all next time.